Knowledge for Men, episode 87.
Welcome to knowledgeformen.com, where you're going to grow into the man you want to be. Your life will never be the same again. I can guarantee it.
Hey guys, one of the questions I've been getting a lot lately is, can you put together a list of the best books and success quotes from all of your guests and combine that into one guide? And so I've actually just done that. It's called the top 30 books and success quotes every man must live by. So out of all of the podcast episodes I've done, over 60, I finally put together this guide, and you can download it for free at kfmfree.com. Again, that's kfmfree.com. All right, guys, I'm here with Mike Michalowicz, entrepreneur and best-selling author of the cult classics, The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur, Pumpkin Plan, and now Profit First. Mike, I'm happy to have you on the show.
Oh, man, I'm thrilled to be here, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
And this is Mike's second time back on the show. He's actually one of the first to come back on the show again. I mean, he's just pumping out such good content that, I was compelled. I had to get him back on the show again.
Well, that's awesome, man. That's cool. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. So you already know the drill. Let's go ahead and dive in with a success quote.
All right. I'll give you my own. And it sounds a little cheesy to give my own, but this has become like a mantra. So it's not really a success quote, but something I say to myself over and over. Profit is not an event, it's a habit. And what that's meant to me is that I always thought profit, get the big client on board and you make your money, or you sell your business, you make your money, or, you win the lottery, you make money. Always looking for events, but profit is not an event. It's a habit. It's something that we have to instill in ourselves every day. It's a series of small wins that brings around profitability and wealth, not these kind of magnanimous events. It's constant stream of small successes.
So not just having strong cash flow coming in each month, but having strong profitable months is what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And thanks for making that differentiation. Yeah. So some people think a strong month represents a strong business, right? Lots of money flows in, a little bit flows out, and that's a strong business. But the reality is that doesn't represent profit. Cash flow is simply money coming in and going out. Profit is really the money that sticks, that doesn't flow back out. So the goal is every month, or if you rewind it even further, every single day, every transaction we have in our business, in our lives, for the inflow of cash, is there a smaller directly related outflow? And if so, we're profitable. And if we can be profitable every day and every month, then it's every year, and then becomes a lifetime.
Yeah, it's not about having a 7 or 8 figure business. It's at the end of the day, it's how much profit are you making with your business? Because a small 6-figure business could be easily more profitable than a 7-figure business.
Oh yeah, it's funny, Andrew. I think I've been programmed, and maybe the folks listening in right now have been programmed that, size matters. It's the old, how big is it question, but it revolves around our business. How big is your top line? How much money are you making? How many employees do you have? Which usually translates to how big is your top line. And our focus is grow without considering the bottom line. And it's true, a small business doesn't mean it's a small profit margin. I know folks that have businesses that do under $1 million in revenue, maybe under 500,000 in revenue, maybe just a few 100,000 in revenue that are extremely profitable. Conversely, I know businesses that are doing 10 million, 25 million. I have a friend that has 50 million in revenue, but aren't profitable. And I'll tell you this, the bigger your business is, the more stress you have. So if you have a big business with no profit, it's way more stressful than having a small business with no profit. And if you have a big business with profit or a small business with profit, the big business is a more stressful business. So kudos to the small businesses that are driving profitability. You've reduced your potential for problems, aka stress, and you've maximized how much you're taking home and hopefully living the lifestyle you want.
And guys, this is the topic of today's episode. It's about his most recent book, Profit First. It's about operating a healthy business and being profitable and doing a few things in your accounting that he's been doing in his businesses and for his clients that help them become even more profitable every month, every year. So before we dive into that, let's get a little backstory about yourself, Mike. And I think a good starting point would be the piggy bank moment. So I think that's a good place. So go ahead, and the mic is yours.
Sure. That was, I guess, effectively the most devastating day of my life. And it's weird. I don't know if many people can pinpoint a moment in their life that says that. Well, actually, maybe many people can. I couldn't up to that point pinpoint anything that was really difficult or tough in life as a specific moment. But this was probably my darkest day. And what happened was after selling my second company, I become a millionaire. What I call a day millionaire. I just achieved enough money where I was net assets, cash as a millionaire for a day, and then taxes came, and I slipped back under a million. But at least I was there for a
Just
day.
for a day.
But my arrogance, yeah, it still counts, right? Right, for a day. But my arrogance was like, oh my God, I figured out the formula. I mean, I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of just cash I could use for whatever. And for me, that was a big deal at the time of my life. I just turned 35. And I was like, I know the formula to success. And my arrogance got hold of me. Well, over the next 2 years, by my 37th birthday, I lost every penny as an angel investor. I've told other folks this too. I lovingly call myself the angel of death because I sucked, man. I sucked, Andrew. I was like losing money here and there and just making poor decisions. And also living a very prestigious lifestyle that someone who was a true millionaire, multi-millionaire could support, but someone of my status, no way. So I bought the cars. I moved into the biggest house I could afford in the most expensive town and joined the clubs and all this stuff. And then within 2 years, all the money was gone. And I came to face my family and tell them what was going on. And I effectively had been lying to them up to that point. It was lying by omission, just not really giving them a sense of what's going on. And all the money was gone. So I had to. And I faced my family, my 3 children, and my wife on Valentine's Day, nonetheless. And then I was sobbing. I was so embarrassed and just told them I'd lost everything, every penny. And my daughter, in that moment, she was 9 years old at the time, ran out of the room and then came back in with her piggy bank. And she put it in front of me and said, Daddy, I'm going to help us out. I'm going to support us. And, that's kind of a big slap to the face. It's a big reality check that my daughter, a 9-year-old girl, feels obliged to support the family because what a miserable idiot her father had been.
Oh, gosh.
And that was the moment that kind of turned things around. Now, when I say that, it doesn't mean like the next day I'm like, okay, I'm going to fix this.
Right.
But I realized I had to fix this. It took me a few years to figure it out and to get kind of swagger back and focusing on profitability and subsequently profit first. But at least that was the moment that kind of was the slap to the face I needed to wake me up to the fact that profit isn't an event like that quote I shared with you. It doesn't happen in like selling a business or these big investment moments or the big client. It happens through establishing a habit, a profit habit.
Yeah, I was only laughing earlier because it was the
No, I get no, dude.
Hilarious.
I laugh at it too. I mean, it's embarrassing, but it's kind of freeing. I've shared the story enough times now. It's kind of freeing to admit, what a screw up I was and how much I didn't understand financials. And perhaps that's the reality for a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm Andrew. I was convinced I knew everything. Like I knew how to manage money, and kind of the realization I really don't know what I thought I knew.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of entrepreneurs that think that way. And, I recently just came from a big entrepreneur event, and the questions I heard all too often was questions like, how big is your office? And everyone's like, oh my gosh, so big. How many employees do you have? It's like, oh my,
awesome.
He's making so much money with all those employees. But what the conversation should be and what Profit First really focuses on is how profitable is your business?
Yeah.
How healthy is your business?
Yeah. Now, when I hear people talking like that, I know they're stuck in the trap. It's the how big is it trap, right? So how big is your office space? What people are doing in their head, right? So they hear 10,000 square feet. They're like, oh, you can fit 5 employees max per 1,000 square feet. So 1,000 times, wow, that's 50 employees. You got 50 employees. And that means, ooh, that might be like a $10 million company. That's what we're doing. We're calculating the size. And it becomes a trap because we then believe that size matters, that bigger is better, and that don't worry about the profits, just grow because profits will come one day. You'll be rich one day. And then we get the public affirmations. We see things like Twitter, like these businesses that just skyrocket in size but never cut a profit, but then they sell for billions anyway. And there's your proof. Just grow, baby, grow. And it becomes a trap. Twitter is an anomaly. It's once in a blue moon. If you see anything in the news, it's usually once in a blue moon. So Twitter and those type platforms are once in a blue moon. Healthy businesses know that profit is achieved through constricting your size, by maximizing the efficiency, by doing as much as possible with the least as possible. And when I see someone bragging, saying, "Oh yeah, we're doing great numbers, and by the way, we found a way to do it with 2 people," ooh, that piques my interest. It used to not. It used to not, but now I want to find the most efficient people that are making a lot of money with very few resources, because that's the folks I want to emulate.
Yeah, I was reading that the author and speaker Brennan Burchard did over $10 million in 2013 with just one employee.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible. Now, Mike, break down the survival trap a little more. I think it's something a lot of entrepreneurs encounter. Even myself, I'm like, this is me. This is me. He knows me all too well. I think it's just such a pitfall for so many entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs alike.
Yeah, yeah, we were kind of touching on it, and it's the belief that we need to grow to move forward. And the survival trap, if you can picture in your mind, it's point A and point B, right? Point A is where we are today. Point B is where we want to go, or the vision we have for ourselves. Unfortunately, point B is rarely defined well. Usually the vision is, I want a big company, I want to be rich, but there's not much more clarity beyond that. So what happens is point A is our moment currently. And for most entrepreneurs, we get surprised by a lack of revenue or not enough money in the bank account or something that puts us into a reactionary mode. Shoot, I got to pay all these bills and I don't have any money coming in. I better make collection calls. Or, holy crap, this month is really looking bad. I better launch a new product or introduce a new service. Well, all those moves are survival moves. And what you can do is picture that point A in your mind, take an arrow away from point A in any direction, toward point B or away from point B or anywhere you want. As long as you get away from point A, crisis, for at least for the moment, you're surviving. If you could make some collection calls and get, 5, 10, 20 grand, whatever the money is, when that comes in, there's 5, 10, 20 grand of relief. And it's like, whew, okay, got past the crisis. But what happens is the vast majority of actions we take to get out of crisis takes us in a direction that's opposite, or at least not toward, point B. So no matter where you draw point A and point B on a piece of paper, any direction you take away from point A, the majority of the time, it's not moving you in the direction of point B. It's taking you directly away from it, or at least off of course. So what that tells us is when we're in survival mode, the trap is we take immediate actions that get us through for another week or month, but inevitably we get dragged right back into the next crisis, the next point A, and then we make any decision that will get us out to survive yet another month, and we never get to point B. The other thing that's kind of funny about this phenomena is sometimes we make a decision out of crisis that actually moves us toward point B. We make a sale and the perfect client just happens to be there at the right time, and we engage that client. And it's in that moment we're like, aha, it's working. It's finally coming together. Everything's working perfectly. But the funny thing is, it's not. It was just luck that you got the right client at the right time while in crisis. And so it looks like things are coming in alignment. But if you continue in this crisis mode of just doing whatever it takes to survive another month, the next client you bring on board, the next opportunity, whatever gets you out of crisis, is unlikely to get you in alignment with where you want to go, point B, and you're back into full crisis again.
Yeah, so you're moving further away from your vision. You're trying to just survive each month, make the bills each month, pay your employees each month. And although you can be earning more revenue with new products, new sales, and clients, you're building this monster.
Yeah.
And it can get out of control. And you call this like the Frankenstein. It's kind of scary.
It's scary, but it's the real analogy. Yeah, I call it the Frankenstein moment. And if you ever saw the movie, or if you saw Young Frankenstein or anything like it, the story's always the same. Here's a doctor, this genius, who has this idea and says, I can bring something to life. And the parallel starts right there. Entrepreneurs, we have an idea and say, oh my God, I can bring this idea to life. And I make money at it. I can have this wild success. I can become famous. And that's what Dr. Frankenstein is thinking. Like, I can have this huge success in the medical area. I'll be famous. And so he does it. And the crazy thing is he stitches together all these like body parts and these different things. And he brings this being to life. And sure enough, in our business, same parallel, we stitch together ideas, we scrap together a few credit cards, we punch these things together, and we bring this thing to life. And in that moment, it's exuberance. It's like, it's alive. It's freaking alive. I brought it to life. And we're all excited until the next day. And the next day is when none of the people we thought would purchase our service or buy our product do. Our friends said, oh, yeah, totally, I'm buying it. Like, they don't show up. They don't open their wallets for sure. The clients or prospects we thought would buy from us don't. Like, our own mom and dad are like, well, we're going to wait on this. Like, they don't even buy anything we have to offer. And we're like, holy crap. I started a business that no one is interested in. Frankenstein, it's this monster. And what happens now you got to feed it. You got to feed it cash. You got to get money to keep this thing going until you can get customers. And when you get customers, it's simply more cash, but the monster gets bigger and stronger and more powerful. And so now it becomes, instead of this thing that serves you, instead of you achieving the fame and wealth you want, now it's this monster that you have to serve. You become enslaved to your business.
Yeah, and this could look like waking up early in the morning and working till 9, 10 p.m. and just doing this for years on end. I mean, you set out to build a business because I'm sure we're all looking for freedom.
Sure.
And this monster that you built destroys any possible chance at freedom.
And there's resentment, right? I mean, started our business to make money for it to serve us, and instantly it's turned around and it's taking control of us. We form resentment. I know a lot of entrepreneurs that come to hate their business.
Yeah, or it can ruin their personal life, their health, their relationships.
Oh my God, yeah.
It can even create hardships in the family.
Dude, and I've been there. Like, so I've been married through all my businesses with my wife, but it's been challenging on our relationship. And I'm lucky. I'm married to a woman that's just, I'm in love with my wife emphatically, and she's phenomenal. And she's supported it. But I'll tell you, it's been some real gut check calls. Until I got control of the profit component, there's been the highest of ups and the darkest, deepest lows of lows.
All right. Well, congratulations on finding such an awesome woman.
Yeah.
All right. And now that we've scared everyone into not building a business,
yeah,
let's now dive into profit first. It's a very simple formula. I read it and I was like, that was it. It's very powerful. Yeah. So how are businesses traditionally doing their accounting, and how is that different from the formula you have in Profit First, Mike?
Yeah. So, well, here's the good news is most businesses, if folks listening in right now are thinking about starting a business or growing a business, most businesses get their business right. They know how to attract prospects. They know how to serve the prospects, convert them to clients, of course, click money. So we're doing most of the stuff right. The element we get wrong is the profit component. And what I realized, Andrew, I thought it was bizarre that there's, I think, 26 million small businesses in the US alone. And out of 26 million, 21 million are living check by check, which means if they don't make any money this month, they're out of business. 21 million. And like, how can so many people be smart enough and have enough courage to start a business, yet not be smart enough to be profitable? It can't be that people are smart enough to start, but not smart enough to run a business. That doesn't make sense to me. And then what I figured out is there's a formula that's flawed, and it's called GAAP accounting. It stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. This is the foundational accounting system that all businesses use. And it's simply this: sales minus expenses equals profit. You sell, you then extract out your expenses that you use to run your business, cover your sales efforts, and then the remainder is profit. But here's when I looked at that formula, and I live that formula. I believe that formula. I looked at it long enough, and all of a sudden I said, oh my God, this formula is absurd. Sales minus expenses equals profit means profit is the leftover. It's a leftover. It's the final thought. It's like, let's see when profit will come about and what it'll be. So I wondered, what if we flipped the formula and put profit first? If it was sales minus profit equals expenses. What if we sell as much as we can, which most entrepreneurs are good at selling, then immediately extract our profit. As money comes in, take the profit, reserve it away, and then the remainder is used to pay expenses. We have to figure out with what's left over how to run our business, serve our clients, and so forth. So that was the concept. And I applied it to myself, started about 5 or 6 years ago once I went through this experience. Changed my business life forever. I've been profitable every quarter ever since. And I started doing it with some clients and some people I was working with, and same thing. And that's how simple this formula or process is. Like just listening now, you can start doing this immediately. Sell. When you sell and the money comes in, take your profit, reserve it, tuck it away, and then whatever's left over is your expenses. This is the pay yourself first principle that we're supposed to be using in our personal life. This is now that pay yourself first principle applied to business.
Right. And in the book, you had some sort of aha moment where you're comparing it to a health infomercial. You're like, aha, this is the next book right here.
yeah.
And as you're watching this, you compare it to a health diet. So
Yeah.
if you can break down how profits is like a successful diet.
Yeah, sure. So there's four principles to a successful diet. Most people believe, if you watch infomercials and stuff, it's extreme measure. Do the P90X program, buy Suzanne Summers' Thigh Master, and clamp your thighs together, and like all of a sudden you'll be ripped. And those programs do work, but only if you stick with it. But the problem is they don't exploit our natural habit. So we always see those before and after pictures. Like here's the fatty guy, here's the skinny guy. Like I wish they would show the after photo because most of the time people put all the weight back on plus. And the reason isn't because the program doesn't work, but the program's not sustainable. It doesn't work with our natural habits. So I saw this fitness expert, and he said, yeah, instead of trying to change your habits, exploit them. And he said, one habit we all have is we have a plate in our house, to eat dinner or whatever it is, and we serve our entire plate, and then we eat our entire plate. He says, if we simply change the plate size, we will serve ourselves less and eat less, reduce the plate size. I was like, oh my God, that's the formula. What if we do the same with our business? Instead of having one checking account, one massive plate where all the money sits, why don't we set up multiple accounts, like a profit account, an account to pay ourselves, owners pay above and beyond profit, a tax account so we're set for taxes, we reserve for taxes, an account to pay operating expenses. Let's set up all these small plates, and then when money comes in, immediately based upon percentages, divide it up to these different plates, and then you'll know exactly what's available to consume. It's the same principle. And this way, by the way, most entrepreneurs do what's called bank balance accounting. Most of us, while we have an accounting system like QuickBooks or Peachtree or something, we all hop on our bank account, check out what our balance is today. And if we have one checking account and we see no money in it, we panic and make collection calls. If we see money in it, we're like, oh, I can pay bills and maybe buy that computer I've been waiting for. That's our natural habit. So by setting up these different accounts with our bank, profit, owner's pay, tax, and so forth, we've set up these smaller plates. So we get to continue this habit of logging into our bank account. But now instead of seeing one account, one massive plate, we see all these small plates. Next principle is vegetables first. In the diet industry, they found that if you eat your vegetables first, fills up some of the space in your stomach, you're less likely to eat the rest of your meal. You're not going to consume your entire steak now if you eat your vegetables first. Plus, you got the vitamins and all the nutrients up front. Well, how this applies to business is that we have to allocate our money first. When our money comes in, before paying bills or we do anything, before paying anything, we take that money and divide it up to these different accounts I just laid out for you, the small plates. That's the first step. You have to assign it to its different responsibilities. That's the nutrients of your business and your life first. The next thing I learned from the health industry, the third step, was removing temptation. For me, one of my temptations, I got many of them, but one of them is Twizzlers. If there's a pack of freaking Twizzlers in my house, Andrew, like I'm like diving in on it. I'm punching my own children to grab it. I'm out of control with Twizzlers. And so the rule here by the way, I did not punch my children. I want to take that back.
Yeah.
I totally take that back. I did that for dramatic effect. And as I'm saying, I'm like, that was totally ridiculous that I said that. But there's no Twizzlers in the house. Like I asked like my wife, like never buy Twizzlers. I tell my kids, if you get them for Halloween, do not bring them in the house because I can't resist it. I don't have the willpower. Well, in business, when we allocate money to our profit account and to other accounts like our tax account, and the money just sits there, it becomes very tempting to borrow, I'm doing air quotes, to borrow from ourselves when we need to pay bills. So what we need to do is remove that temptation. And what I suggest everyone does on this call, once you set up these accounts, line up with another bank, one you haven't used before, and set up a account for your profit to accumulate in and another account for your tax to accumulate in. Then when you allocate the money to your profit and tax accounts and perhaps other accounts too, you then immediately next transfer that money over to your second bank. You want to make it difficult to access. So you don't get even online banking for a second bank. You don't get a checkbook for the second bank. Just transfer it there. And the only way you can withdraw money is by actually physically going to the bank. That's removing the temptation. And that way you won't borrow from yourself and you have to make it work with the money that's left over for your operating expenses. And then the fourth and final step is to do this at a certain frequency. In the diet industry, they found that most people eat either too frequently or too infrequently, constantly snacking or gorging the 1 or 2 meals we eat a day. They found that 5 meals are the optimum amount of meals every day. Same thing. Either we're paying our bills too much when we have money here and there, just constantly pay bill a little bit here, a little bit there, or too infrequently. We wait for all the bills to pile up, and then once every couple of months, when there's enough money, we see what we can pay and pay the bills then. What I found is if we pay our bills and do this allocation of money twice a month, we start getting into a rhythm. We get to see the money accumulating as the income comes in, then it disperses to these different accounts, and we pay our bills. And if you do this twice a month, I found the perfect days happen to be the 10th and 25th, because if we pay bills on the 10th, they arrive by the 15th. We pay bills on the 25th, they arrive by the end of the month. So we get into this rhythm of paying people on time. But if we do this rhythm of the 10th and 25th, we see the money accumulate, deposits, and then disperse, and then money accumulates, deposits, and then disperses. And it's kind of like the ocean waves. You see how far the waves are coming in, and by simply knowing how far the waves are coming in, you know the tide of the ocean. Same thing with our business. As we watch the money come in and disperse on a regular basis, we start understanding inherently our cash flow and how much money is coming in. If all of a sudden those waves of cash are low, that's an indicator we got to get something going. Sales are slipping, collections aren't working. And if those waves are bigger, that could be an indication of some great things. Maybe sales are cranking, maybe collections are flowing well. But either way, it increases your awareness that things are changing and that you want to maybe take action.
And so, how do you divide up your accounts? Is what I'm wondering. Do you have like base percentages of how to distribute your funds into the 4 accounts you talked about?
Yeah.
And is it adjusted for lower and higher levels of income for different types of businesses?
I do. And maybe you just gave me like a softball perfect pitch, like, oh, check out my book. Like everything's in Profit First. So yeah, I outline in Profit First. I have a chart. And what I did was I studied businesses and found that based upon certain revenue ranges, if you do less than $500,000 in business, you're basically still in the startup phase. Here's what the allocation should be: 5% for profit. But the pay for an owner typically is very high in that case, maybe upwards of 50% and so forth. Taxes would be about 15%. But as your business grows, those allocations change. Like a $20 million company may be taking 20% in profit, but the pay to the owners may be much smaller, maybe 5%, which would, by the way, still represent $1 million a year to the owners. So the percentages change. Now, of course, it's in the book, like I just said, but I also made this freely available. So if you don't have the book or not interested in the book, but just want to check out the percentages on my website, which is mikemichalowicz.com. And I know that's a doozy to spell, but give your best stab. Google does find me. People type in Mike Michalowicz and they find me. So you can find me. And then go to the resources page. And on the resources page, you'll see the charts are all there for a download, and you can check out all the percentages there.
All right. I'll be sure to put that link in the blog post that I create for this episode. But I still have this question that's kind of on my head right now, Mike. And it's, if you're paying yourself first, then this obviously leaves less money for expenses down the road for, like marketing or product development. So I'm wondering, does this slow down the growth of the business since you now have less to spend?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, and I've gotten that from a few people. That's probably my favorite question, because it sounds like less money is available for expenses, which is true. But we've all heard, it takes money to make money. If you want to grow, plow back, reinvest. And the reality is it's the opposite. The less money that's available to us for expenses forces us to become more focused in what we do. We can do less things, so we have to be more selective in what we do, which means we generally have to offer less things, less variability in our service or product offering, which means that service or product offering has to become more focused. And we have to solve less problems. So we got to focus on a more targeted marketing niche, because they have to have the same recurring problem that our 1 or 2 solutions provides. So by making less money available for expenses, it forces us to become more focused. Focus forces efficiency and specialization. And it's in efficiency and specialization where the ultimate growth happens. I mean, if you think about, would you hire a heart surgeon if you had heart pain, or would you hire a general practitioner? General practitioner can do everything. He or she's been versed in everything. A heart surgeon's quote unquote only been versed in how to operate the heart. I wouldn't want them doing foot surgery on me, but I will pay an absolute premium for them to help me with my heart problem. And in our business is the same thing. Less money for expenses means become more efficient, more focused on fixing one thing. You actually become a specialist, and the specialists make all the money. I like to say the riches are in the niches. Profit First forces you to focus on a niche.
Kind of going back to your earlier book, The Pumpkin
Yeah,
Farm,
yeah,
right?
totally. It's totally loops back. I'm self-promoting, obviously.
Everything leads to your next book. Yeah.
It all
By
loops
the way, I
back.
have this event coming up too.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing here, Mike.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Now, to conclude, can you talk about choosing your own adventure as an entrepreneur and how the entrepreneur has the ability to grow their own business however they want into whatever lifestyle they please?
Yeah, yeah. The cool thing about Profit First is you can achieve it in any way you want. If you go on my site to the resources section and download those suggested percentages for these different accounts that I mentioned, those are what I call TAPs, and TAP stands for target allocation percentages. These are the numbers we want to target. But I also explain in the book that that's not where we want to start. Like if you've never taken a profit in your business, now you start taking 20%, that could be devastating. It could be too fast of a change. So what I suggest is have a target, but start off smaller, choose your own adventures. So maybe start off your profits at 1% or 2%. And maybe even I say, maybe you argue with my target allocation percentages. Maybe you don't believe me. Maybe there's different percentages for your business. So I give a method of simply evaluating public companies in your same space and determining what kind of percentages they run for profit and paying the leaders of their business and so forth, and basing it upon that. The thing is this, at the end of the day, I don't care what target you pick nearly as much as the fact you just get started and started small. Because if you start Profit First too big and you struggle because of it, because you're taking too much profit, you'll give up on the system. I suggest just get started and then over time, ramp it up, ramp it up, ramp it up. And if you do it that way, the chances of you successfully implementing and sticking with Profit First is really high.
All right. I'm really excited to apply these concepts into my own business. And I know a lot of the others listening are really interested in Profit First as well. So, Mike, thanks again for coming back on the show. And guys, it's Mike Michalowicz, so MICHALOWITZ.com.
ICZ.
Oh man, yeah, even I just
You're
mentioned
not,
that.
you're not the first, man. No, you're not the first. But let me say first, a real privilege to be with you. I would do this literally any time of the night or day. I think your program's awesome. The knowledge you're providing to people. So thank you. And yeah, come to my website anytime. It's MikeMichalowicz.com. I'm sure you can provide the link. There's tons of free stuff up there. And actually, you can download free chapters from that book and all my other books too if you want to take a peek at it.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks, Andrew. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. That's going to wrap up episode 87 with Mike Michalowicz. All right. And the challenge item that I have for you today is to pay yourself first and adopt this style of thinking where you pay yourself first and then what is left is going to be for your expenses. And if you don't have enough for your expenses, you simply need to cut the unnecessary expenses so that you do have enough. And so this can be applied into your personal and business life. All right, guys, until next time. Do you ever have so many books to read that you end up not reading at all? You have so many books in your library on your list of books that you want to read, but you don't know which books to tackle first? I know in all of my episodes, I ask guests, what are your favorite books? What are your most influential books? And they always list 3 or 4. And I always ask guests for their favorite success quote. I find that quotes can be so powerful sometimes, yet there's so many available. So what I've done is I put together a list of the top 30 books and top 30 success quotes that I think every man must live by. And these are directly from guests on the Knowledge for Men podcast. And as you know, some of the guests on my show sold their companies for millions of dollars. They're running billion-dollar organizations. They're dating coaches. They're health coaches. They're entrepreneurs. They're celebrities on TV. They're mixed martial artists. Just this wide variety of great minds. And I put together a list of the top 30 books and top 30 success quotes that every man must live by. You can download this guide for free at kfmfree.com. Again, that's kfmfree.com.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast show. It's been a pleasure having you be a part of a thriving community of men who want to crush it in all aspects of life. I'm on a mission here to inspire millions of guys, and with your help, we're going to make a dent in the universe. Check out knowledgeformen.com for a ton of free content that's designed to help you live a remarkable life. Again, that's knowledgeformen.com. I hope to see you there. And always remember, 2014 is the official year of the crush, where we take action to get the life we've always dreamed of. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and until next time, let's do it.